Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Akil and I make videos about cloud AI agents and how to actually use these tools in real work, not just the hype, but the actual practical stuff. Today we're talking about something I think is genuinely underrated. Back in October 2025, Anthropic released something called Claude Skills, and most people saw it, thought cool feature, and moved on. But Simon Willison, who built Datasette and is honestly one of the most reliable technical voices I follow in the AI space, said something that stopped me. He called it, and I'm quoting directly, maybe a bigger deal than MCP. That is a bold claim, and in this video I want to walk you through why I actually agree with him. So first things first, what actually is a Claude skill? When I first heard about it, I expected something complicated, but it's just a markdown file. You create a folder, put one file inside called skill.md, and that file has two parts, a short header at the top with a name and description, and below that, your step-by-step instructions for how Claude should handle a specific task. The example on screen right now is a sponsor email screener, where you're telling Claude, here's what to look for, here's how to score it. Here's the format I want. Write that once, and from that point on, every single time you ask Claude to screen a sponsorship email, it just does it correctly and consistently with no new protocol to learn, no SDK to install, no server to spin up. It's literally just a markdown file. Now here's where it actually gets clever. And the architecture is really smart. At the start of every Claude session, the agent looks at all your installed skills and reads just the front matter, meaning that tiny header with the name and description, which is about 50 tokens per skill, the full body of the skill with all your detailed instructions only loads when Claude decides a task actually matches. Compare that to putting everything in an AGENTS.md file, which loads 944 tokens or more every single session, whether you need it or not. If you have 20 skills installed, you're using about 1000 tokens total at startup, which is the same cost as just one single agents.md workflow entry. Simon Willison specifically called out this design as very token efficient, and the practical result is that a skill library can grow to 50 skills or more without degrading your agent's performance at all. Here's the comparison people keep asking about, skills versus MCP. The Model Context Protocol is a full stack specification with hosts, clients, servers, resources, prompts, tools, transports, the whole thing. And to actually use it, you have to implement a server. GitHub's official MCP server alone loads tens of thousands of tokens at startup. Skills are fundamentally different. Not a smaller version of MCP, but a completely different category. Just markdown with optional scripts that works with any agent that has file system access. No server required. And here's the key insight from Willison that I think really nails it. Almost everything about how to use a tool can be described in a markdown file at maybe 5% of the token cost. MCP is absolutely the right answer when you need live real-time access to an external service like hitting a live database, sending messages, or calling an API. But a huge portion of what people reach for MCP to solve is actually just encoding how to do something rather than fetching live data. And for that, skills are way more efficient. So how do you actually build one? I've got a 4-step process that works really consistently. First, run the task manually with your agent before trying to write the skill. Actually walk Claude through the task live and correct it as you go until you're genuinely happy with what it's producing. Second, once you're happy, ask Claude to write the skill from that session by saying something like write a skill MD. That would let you repeat what we just did, and what comes out is really good because it's based on what actually worked in practice, including all the edge cases you just corrected. Third, test it on hard cases by finding 3 or 4 inputs where things are likely to go wrong and update the skill wherever it fails. Fourth, add a good examples file with 1 or 2 outputs you actually approved, because Claude can calibrate your tone and format from real examples way better than from written descriptions. That's the whole process. 4 steps, and you can get through the first one in about 30 minutes. Here's the part that I think makes skills genuinely special, and this is what separates them from just writing a prompt. A skill can actually improve itself over time because you build a feedback loop right into the instructions. When the user approves an output, Claude appends it to the good examples file, and when they correct something, Claude identifies which rule failed and updates the rules section to prevent that mistake from happening again. Over 20 sessions, what you see is actually remarkable. By session 5, the skill has already learned 8 specific constraints from your corrections, and by session 20, it's producing near first draft quality consistently with your correction rate down about 80% from where you started. Compare that to a regular prompt you paste in every session, which stays exactly as good as the day you wrote it and never gets better. A skill accumulates your institutional knowledge over time, and that compounding effect is honestly what makes this more interesting to me than MCP. Now let's talk about chaining skills together, because individual skills are useful, but when you chain them, it gets exponentially more powerful. Think about a weekly market intelligence pipeline. A scanner skill hits your top 5 competitor sites every week and logs what changed. Then an analyst skill compares that against last week's snapshot and flags the meaningful shifts like product launches, pricing moves, and new features. A brief writer skill turns those findings into a competitive intel report in your voice, and a reviewer skill checks the claims, catches anything vague, and flags what needs a human to verify. The whole chain fires automatically every Sunday morning, so you walk into Monday knowing exactly what your competitors shipped over the weekend. Each skill does exactly one job, and the chain is only as reliable as its weakest skill, which is why you build and refine each one individually before connecting them. I want to be clear about something. Skills don't replace the other layers of your agent setup, they complete it. Claude.md handles how your agent behaves, covering its tone, standing instructions, and how it communicates. Your OKF bundle handles what the agent knows about your systems, basically the curated knowledge of your infrastructure. Skills handle how the agent executes specific recurring workflows, the reusable processes that load on demand. MCP handles live tool access, the real-time external connections, and memory.md handles what the agent has learned about your preferences across sessions. Each layer answers a completely different question with no overlap, and when you put them all together, you've got something way more capable than any single one of them alone. Where do you actually start? If you're thinking, okay, I get it, but what do I build first? Here are the 5 categories that give you the highest return right away. Number 1 is email drafting. Because you do it constantly, the quality varies, and one good skill eliminates your most repeated daily friction. Number 2 is research synthesis, which takes a set of sources and extracts key findings in a consistent format and feeds into almost every other workflow you'll build. Number 3 is a weekly report skill that pulls your metrics, formats them your way, and runs on a schedule to completely remove a recurring manual task. Number 4 is a content editor that reviews your drafts against your specific criteria every single time and catches the same mistakes automatically without you having to remember to check. Number 5 is meeting prep, which takes an agenda, pulls relevant context, and generates a briefing doc that makes you the most prepared person in every meeting. The pattern is consistent. Start with what you do most often and hate doing the most. So here's my challenge for you. Build your first skill this week and pick one recurring task. Walk Claude through it once. and ask it to write the skill. It takes maybe 30 minutes the first time. And by week 8, if you're adding a few skills per week, the system will be running more of your recurring work than you do manually. I wrote the full breakdown with code examples and diagrams over on Medium, and the link is right up on screen. If you found this useful, subscribe because I put out deep dives like this on Claude AI agents and developer tools pretty regularly. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.